Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Astronaut, where curiosity drifts gently through the cosmos and wonder takes the scenic route to slumber. Tonight's peaceful expedition carries us to one of the most profound questions humanity has ever pondered, a question that has stirred the minds of philosophers, physicists, and dreamers alike for centuries. Does space have an edge? Is there a place where the universe simply stops, where you might press your hand against some cosmic boundary and feel the end of everything? It's a question that feels both impossibly vast and strangely intimate, like wondering if your childhood bedroom had walls you never noticed. Before we float together through this gentle exploration of infinity and boundaries, I'd love to know, where in the vast expanse are you listening from tonight? Are you tucked beneath familiar stars, or perhaps gazing up at constellations from some distant corner of our shared planet? There's something beautifully fitting about pondering the edge of space while we're all scattered across this small blue marble, each of us a tiny point of consciousness looking outward into the same endless night. If you find comfort in these quiet journeys through the cosmos, if the mysteries of the universe help ease your mind toward rest, I'd be ever so grateful if you'd give this video a gentle like and perhaps subscribe. It helps this little corner of cosmic calm reach other fellow travelers who might need a peaceful pause beneath the stars. And I do hope tonight's voyage is just fascinating enough to spark your wonder without keeping you awake. Though, if it does, well, at least you'll drift off knowing a bit more about the magnificent mystery we call home. So settle in. Let your thoughts slow like distant starlight, and let's begin our quiet journey to the edge of everything. Because somewhere between the infinitely small and the infinitely large, between what we can see and what we can only imagine, lies one of the most beautiful puzzles the universe has ever offered us. Space, it seems, should have an edge. After all, everything in our daily experience has boundaries. Your room has walls, your garden has a fence, even the mightiest ocean meets the shore. We live in a world of beginnings and endings, of here and there, of this side and that side. So when we look up at the night sky, that vast darkness sprinkled with points of light, it feels natural to wonder where it all stops. Surely there must be some place where the last star flickers alone in the darkness, where space itself comes to an end, like the final page of an enormous book. But here's where our cosmic journey begins to take unexpected turns, much like a river that seems to flow straight ahead, until suddenly it curves around a bend you never saw coming. The question of space's edge isn't just about distance or measurement. It's about the very nature of existence itself, about what it means for something to be, and what lies beyond being. It's a question that has evolved as our understanding of the universe has grown, and the answers we've discovered are far stranger and more wonderful than any boundary we might have imagined. Let's start with what seems like the obvious answer, the one that feels most natural to our everyday experience. Imagine you're an explorer, not of uncharted lands or hidden caves, but of space itself. You climb aboard the most magnificent spacecraft ever built, one that can travel faster than anything we've ever dreamed of, and you set off in a straight line away from Earth. You pass the Moon, then Mars, then Jupiter with its swirling storms and dancing moons. You cruise past Saturn's rings, those impossibly delicate bands of ice and rock that look like cosmic jewelry scattered across the darkness. But you don't stop there. You continue past the outer planets, past the frozen realm of Pluto, past the distant comets that mark the edge of our solar system. You travel for years, decades, centuries, watching our sun shrink to just another star among millions, then fade to a barely visible point, then disappear entirely into the cosmic background. You pass other stars, other solar systems, perhaps even other civilizations going about their daily lives beneath alien suns. Still, you continue, driven by that fundamental human need to know what lies beyond the next horizon. And then, in this imaginary journey, you come to it. The edge, a place where space simply stops, where there's nothing beyond, Not even emptiness. What would such a place look like? Would it be like a wall, solid and impenetrable? Would it shimmer like the surface of a soap bubble? Or would it be something far stranger? A boundary that exists but can't be seen or touched, like the edge of a dream that you can sense but never quite reach. This is where our intuitive understanding of boundaries begins to break down, like trying to apply the rules of walking to the experience of flight. Because if space has an edge, what lies beyond that edge? We might say nothing, but what does nothing actually mean? Is it a void, a place waiting to be filled? Or is it truly nothing? Not empty space, but the absence of space itself, the absence of the very concept of place. The ancient Greeks wrestled with these questions, and they discovered something unsettling. If you imagine the universe as a giant sphere with everything inside it and nothing outside, then what happens when you reach the edge? What if you threw a spear? If the spear bounces back, then there must be something there, some kind of boundary. But if the spear passes through, then there must be more space beyond, which means your edge wasn't really an edge at all. This puzzle, known as the Archer's paradox, reveals something profound about the nature of boundaries. Every edge we can imagine seems to imply something beyond it, and every beyond seems to push the true edge further away, like chasing your own shadow. It's a problem that has echoed through centuries of human thought, from ancient philosophy to modern physics, always asking the same fundamental question. Can something that contains everything have an edge? Or does the very concept of containment imply something beyond? But perhaps we're thinking about this the wrong way. Perhaps the question isn't whether space has an edge, but what we mean by space in the first place. After all, the universe is far stranger than our everyday experience suggests. We live in a world where effects follow causes, where objects have definite positions, where time flows steadily from past to future. But the cosmos operates by different rules, rules that often seem to mock our common sense and challenge our most basic assumptions about reality. Consider this. When you look up at the night sky, you're not seeing space as it is now. You're seeing it as it was. The light from the nearest star beyond our sun took over 4 years to reach your eyes. The light from distant galaxies has been travelling for millions, even billions of years. You're looking backward through time, seeing the universe as it was when that light began its journey toward you. In a very real sense, the night sky is a museum of cosmic history, each point of light a message from the past. This means that when we ask about the edge of space, we're also asking about the edge of time. We're asking about the beginning of everything, about the moment when the universe itself was born. And here's where our story takes perhaps its most remarkable turn, because modern science has given us an answer to this question that is both precise and utterly mind-bending. The universe, it turns out, does have an edge. Not an edge in space, but an edge in time. It's called the cosmic microwave background, and it's the furthest thing we can see, the oldest light in the universe. It's the afterglow of the Big Bang itself, the moment when the universe first became transparent to light. Before that moment, about 380,000 years after the beginning of everything, the universe was so hot and dense that light couldn't travel freely. It was like trying to see through a thick fog, except the fog was made of fundamental particles and the energy of creation itself. This cosmic background radiation surrounds us in every direction, a faint whisper of microwaves that tells the story of the universe's birth. It's incredibly uniform, nearly the same temperature everywhere you look, but with tiny variations that would eventually grow into the galaxies, stars, and planets we see today. It's the universe's baby picture, a snapshot of the cosmos when it was just a fraction of its current age. But here's what makes this edge so strange. It's not a place you can travel to. It's not a wall or a boundary that you might reach in a sufficiently fast spacecraft. It's an edge in time, not space. As we look further away, we're looking further back, and the cosmic microwave background represents the furthest back we can see. Beyond that point, the universe becomes opaque to light, not because space ends, but because time itself becomes inaccessible to our observations. This creates a peculiar situation. We can measure the observable universe, the sphere of space around us from which light has had time to reach us since the Big Bang. It's about 93 billion light-years across, a distance so vast that it makes our galaxy, our solar system, even our planet seem like specks of dust in an infinite cathedral. But this observable universe is not the same as the universe itself. It's just the part we can see, the part whose light has had time to travel to us. Beyond the edge of the observable universe, space continues. How far does it go? We don't know. It might go on forever, infinite in all directions, containing an endless array of galaxies, stars, and worlds we'll never see. Or it might curve back on itself in ways that are difficult to imagine, like the surface of a sphere, but in dimensions our minds can't easily grasp. The mathematics of general relativity allows for both possibilities, and others even stranger. This is where our journey begins to feel like a meditation on the nature of existence itself. We started with a simple question about edges and boundaries, but we've discovered that the universe doesn't respect our intuitive notions of where things begin and end. Instead, it offers us something far more subtle and profound, a cosmos that may be infinite, that certainly contains wonders beyond our ability to observe, and that challenges us to think about reality in ways that stretch our imagination to its limits. And yet, there's something deeply comforting about this uncertainty. In a universe with a clear edge, we might feel trapped, hemmed in by cosmic walls. But in a universe that may be infinite or that curves back on itself in impossible ways, we're part of something truly boundless. Every star we see, every galaxy that spirals through the darkness, every world that might harbour life, is just a tiny part of something unimaginably vast and wonderful. So, as we float together through this quiet exploration of space and time, of edges and infinities, remember that you're not just observing the universe, you're part of it. You're made of star stuff, atoms forged in the hearts of dying suns, organised into the temporary miracle of consciousness that allows you to ponder these questions. In asking about the edge of space, you're participating in one of the universe's most remarkable features: its apparent ability to understand itself through beings like us. The question of space's edge is far from settled, and new discoveries continue to reshape our understanding of the cosmos. We'll explore these mysteries further as our journey continues, travelling through the strange geometries of curved space-time, the puzzle of cosmic expansion, and the possibility that our universe is just one bubble in an infinite sea of realities. But before we venture deeper into these cosmic mysteries, let's pause for a moment and consider something that might seem almost mundane compared to infinite space and curved time, yet reveals something profound about the nature of boundaries themselves. Think about your own experience right now, listening to these words. Where exactly are you? You might say you're in your bedroom or on a train or perhaps walking beneath an open sky. But where precisely do you end and the world begins? Your skin seems like an obvious boundary, the place where you stop and everything else starts. But the air you breathe becomes part of you with each inhalation, and the carbon dioxide you exhale becomes part of the atmosphere. The light entering your eyes, carrying these words if you're reading, or the sound waves if you're listening, they cross the boundary between world and self constantly, effortlessly. Even your thoughts, the very awareness considering these questions, seems to exist in some strange space between the physical and the ineffable, between matter and meaning. This isn't just poetic musing. It's a glimpse into the fundamental problem of boundaries that echoes through every scale of existence, from the quantum realm to the cosmic. Just as it's difficult to say exactly where you end and the world begins, it may be meaningless to ask where space ends and something else begins. The universe might not have edges in the way we imagine them, not because it's infinite, but because the very concept of an edge requires something beyond it, and the universe, by definition, contains everything. Consider how this puzzle appears at different scales. Look at an atom, that tiny building block of matter that makes up everything around you. Where does the atom end? Its electrons don't orbit in neat circles like planets around a sun. Instead, they exist in probability clouds, regions where they might be found fuzzy and indefinite. The boundary of an atom is more like a gradually fading mist than a solid wall. Push deeper to the nucleus itself and you find protons and neutrons that are themselves made of quarks, held together by forces that operate in ways that defy our everyday understanding of boundaries and separation. Scale up to your own body and you encounter the same beautiful ambiguity. Your cells are constantly dying and being replaced. The atoms that make up your body today are not the same atoms that composed you 7 years ago. You're like a river that maintains its shape while the water flows through it, a pattern of organization that persists while the substance constantly changes. In what sense, then, do you have a fixed boundary? In what sense are you a discrete thing separate from the rest of existence? This pattern repeats as we zoom out further. The Earth's atmosphere doesn't end abruptly at some clear line in space. Instead, it gradually thins until it becomes indistinguishable from the vacuum between worlds. The solar system's boundary is similarly fuzzy, marked perhaps by the heliopause where the solar wind meets interstellar space. But even this is more of a transition zone than a sharp edge. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, blends gradually into the space between galaxies, its outer stars scattered like drops of light fading into darkness. And so we return to our central question with new eyes. If boundaries are fuzzy and indefinite at every scale we can examine, why would we expect the universe itself to have a sharp edge? Perhaps the question isn't whether space has a boundary, but whether the concept of boundaries applies to the totality of existence at all. Yet our minds, shaped by evolution in a world of walls and shores, of beginnings and endings, continue to seek edges, even where none may exist. This isn't a flaw in our thinking, it's a feature. The ability to recognize boundaries, to distinguish between self and other, between safe and dangerous, between here and there, has been crucial to our survival. But when we turn this boundary-seeking mind toward the cosmos, we discover that the universe operates by different rules, rules that often seem to dissolve the very distinctions we depend on. Modern physics has given us mathematical tools to think about these impossible geometries, these spaces that might be finite yet unbounded, infinite yet structured. Einstein's general relativity describes space-time as a fabric that can be curved by matter and energy. In this picture, space isn't a container holding things, but rather a dynamic entity that can stretch, bend, and flow. The universe might be like the surface of a sphere, finite in area but without edges, where travelling far enough in any direction would eventually bring you back to where you started. Or consider the possibility that space itself might be expanding, carrying galaxies apart not by moving through space, but by the expansion of space itself. This is one of the most remarkable discoveries of modern cosmology, the observation that distant galaxies are moving away from us, and the further away they are, the faster they're receding. But this expansion doesn't have a centre, and it doesn't expand into anything. It's not like a balloon inflating in a room where we could point to the centre of the balloon or the room containing it. Instead, it's as if space itself is stretching, creating more space between things without requiring any external arena for this expansion to occur. This expansion gives us another way to think about the edge of space. If the universe is expanding, and if we trace this expansion backward in time, we reach a moment when everything was compressed into an infinitesimally small point. This moment, the Big Bang, represents not just the beginning of matter and energy, but the beginning of space and time themselves. Before this moment, the very concepts of before and after, here and there, lose their meaning. It's not that there was empty space waiting to be filled, but that space itself came into existence along with everything else. In this picture, the universe doesn't have an edge in space, but it does have an edge in time. The Big Bang is the ultimate boundary, the moment before which our physics breaks down and our concepts fail. It's a boundary not in the sense of a wall or a shore, but in the sense of a beginning, a point of origin from which everything else flows. But even this boundary is stranger than it might first appear. The Big Bang wasn't an explosion in space, but an explosion of space. It didn't happen at a particular place because there was no space for it to happen in. Instead, it happened everywhere at once, creating space as it went. Every point in the universe today can claim to be at the centre of the Big Bang, because the Big Bang happened at every point. It's as if the entire universe emerged from a single point that was somehow also every point. This leads us to one of the most profound insights of modern cosmology. The universe might be infinite, but it also had a beginning. These two ideas, which seem contradictory to our everyday thinking, can coexist in the strange realm of cosmic physics. The universe could extend infinitely in all directions, containing an infinite number of galaxies, stars, and worlds, while still having started from a single moment in time. Infinity and finitude, boundlessness and boundaries merge in ways that challenge our deepest assumptions about the nature of existence. As we drift deeper into these cosmic mysteries, we begin to see that the question of space's edge reveals something fundamental about the relationship between human consciousness and the universe it inhabits. We are finite beings asking infinite questions, temporary arrangements of matter and energy, contemplating permanence and eternity. Our minds evolved to navigate a world of objects and boundaries, strain to comprehend a cosmos that may transcend all boundaries while somehow containing itself. Yet in this very struggle, we discover something remarkable. The universe appears to be structured in such a way that conscious beings like us can emerge and ask these questions. The same physical laws that govern the expansion of space and the formation of galaxies also govern the chemistry of life and the electrical patterns of thought. We are not separate from the cosmos we study, but part of it, the universe's way of knowing itself. This perspective transforms our question about the edge of space from a purely scientific inquiry into something more profound. In asking whether space has boundaries, we're really asking about our place in the grand scheme of things, about whether we exist in a closed system or an open one, about whether the universe is a finite puzzle we might someday solve, or an infinite mystery that will always exceed our grasp. The answer, as we're discovering, is both and neither. The universe reveals itself to be far stranger and more wonderful than any simple answer could capture. It's a cosmos that may be infinite, yet expanding, boundless yet structured, ancient yet constantly renewed. It's a universe that contains edges in time but not in space, boundaries in our observation but not in its existence, limits in our understanding but not in its reality. And perhaps that's the most beautiful discovery of all. In a universe with clear edges and simple answers, we might feel constrained, limited by cosmic walls. But in a universe that transcends our categories of finite and infinite, bounded and boundless, we find ourselves part of something truly extraordinary. We are temporary patterns in an eternal dance, finite consciousnesses in an infinite cosmos, asking questions that connect us to the deepest mysteries of existence. So, as we continue our gentle journey through these cosmic mysteries, remember that you're not just learning about space and time, matter, and energy. You're participating in one of the universe's most remarkable achievements: the emergence of awareness, the capacity to wonder, the ability to ask questions that span from the smallest quantum to the largest cosmic scales. In pondering the edge of space, you're exercising the same curiosity that has driven human exploration from the first tentative steps out of Africa to the latest images from the most distant galaxies. The universe, it seems, is not just vast and ancient and beautiful. It's also curious about itself, through us. And as we float deeper into this cosmic meditation, we encounter something that might seem almost impossible to imagine. Scientists have discovered that the universe itself might be curved, not in the way a road curves around a hill, but in dimensions our minds can barely grasp. Picture an ant walking on the surface of a balloon. To the ant, the surface seems flat, extending endlessly in all directions. But we, observing from above, can see that the ant is actually walking on a curved surface that loops back on itself. The ant could walk forever in what it perceives as a straight line, eventually returning to its starting point without ever encountering an edge. This is one possibility for our universe. Space itself might be curved in ways we can't directly perceive, folded through dimensions beyond our three-dimensional experience. In such a universe, you could travel in what seems like a perfectly straight line for billions upon billions of years, passing countless galaxies and star systems, only to eventually find yourself approaching the very region of space you left behind. It's not that you've reached an edge and turned around, but that the geometry of space itself has guided your journey in a vast cosmic circle. The mathematics of this curved space is precise and beautiful, described by equations that Einstein gave us over a century ago. But the reality it describes feels almost dreamlike. A cosmos where straight lines become circles, where travelling far enough in any direction brings you home, where the very concept of a boundary dissolves into something far more subtle and strange. It's as if the universe has found a way to be both finite and endless, containing a specific amount of space while still allowing infinite exploration. But there's another possibility, equally strange and wonderful. The universe might be what mathematicians call flat, extending infinitely in all directions like an endless plane. In this scenario, there would be no cosmic circles, no eventual return to familiar territory. Instead, space would stretch on forever, containing an infinite number of galaxies, an infinite number of stars, and yes, an infinite number of worlds. Somewhere in this infinite expanse, there might be another galaxy exactly like our Milky Way. Another solar system exactly like ours, another planet exactly like Earth. In fact, if space is truly infinite, then every possible arrangement of matter and energy must exist somewhere, including perfect copies of you, living lives identical to yours in every detail. This isn't science fiction, but a serious consequence of infinite space combined with the finite number of ways matter can be arranged. It's a concept that staggers the imagination, suggesting that we live in a universe where everything that can happen does happen, where every story that can be told is being lived somewhere in the vast expanse of space. The implications are profound and slightly unsettling, like discovering that your life is one note in an infinite symphony, unique and precious, yet part of a pattern that repeats endlessly across the cosmos. Current observations suggest that our universe is indeed very close to flat, balanced on the knife edge between curving back on itself and expanding forever. But the measurements aren't perfect, and the true geometry of space remains one of the great open questions in cosmology. We live in a universe whose ultimate nature is still mysterious, whose deepest secrets are still hidden from our instruments and our understanding. This uncertainty isn't a failure of science, but one of its greatest gifts. It means we live in a cosmos that still holds surprises, that still offers new mysteries to explore, that still rewards our curiosity with discoveries that change how we see ourselves and our place in the grand scheme of things. The universe, it seems, is not just vast and ancient, but also fundamentally mysterious, revealing its secrets slowly, one discovery at a time. As we drift through these contemplations, it's worth pausing to consider something that might seem paradoxical. The farther we look into space, the more we discover about time. The light from distant galaxies carries information not just about where they are, but when they were. That faint smudge of light visible through a telescope might be showing us a galaxy as it appeared when the universe was young, when the first stars were just beginning to form, when the cosmic story was still being written. This creates a strange situation where distance and time become intertwined in ways that feel almost mystical. To look far into space is to look far into the past, to see the universe as it was billions of years ago. The most distant objects we can observe are showing us the universe as it appeared when it was just a fraction of its current age, when galaxies were smaller and more chaotic, when the first stars were painting the darkness with their light for the very first time. This cosmic time machine reveals something profound about the nature of existence itself. The universe has a history, a story that unfolds over billions of years, a narrative arc that stretches from the first moments after the Big Bang to the present day. We are not just observers of this story, but participants in it, temporary characters in a cosmic drama that spans unimaginable reaches of space and time. The edge of space, then, is also the edge of time, the furthest point into the past that our instruments can reach. Beyond that edge lies the dark age of the universe, a period when the cosmos was cooling and changing, when the first atoms were forming, when the universe was preparing for the long journey that would eventually lead to galaxies, stars, planets, and life itself. It's a boundary not of space but of knowledge, a limit not of the universe but of our ability to observe it. This brings us to one of the most remarkable aspects of our cosmic journey. We are not just asking abstract questions about the nature of space and time. We are living beings made of atoms forged in the hearts of dying stars, asking questions about the very cosmos that created us. The same physical processes that govern the expansion of space and the formation of galaxies also govern the chemistry of life, the electrical patterns of thought, the wonder that drives us to ask these questions in the first place. In a very real sense, we are the universe becoming aware of itself, temporary arrangements of matter and energy that have somehow developed the capacity to contemplate infinity, to wonder about boundaries, to ask whether space has an edge. It's as if the cosmos has evolved eyes to see itself, minds to understand itself, hearts to be moved by its own beauty and mystery. This perspective transforms our entire inquiry. The question of whether space has an edge becomes not just a scientific puzzle, but a reflection on the nature of consciousness itself. We are finite beings, asking infinite questions, temporary patterns contemplating permanence, small collections of atoms pondering the vast collections of atoms we call galaxies. In our very existence, the universe demonstrates something remarkable. That complexity can emerge from simplicity, that awareness can arise from unconscious matter, that meaning can bloom in the apparent meaninglessness of cosmic space. Perhaps this is why the question of space's edge feels so compelling, so fundamental. It's not just about the geometry of the universe, but about our place within it. Are we isolated islands of consciousness in a finite cosmos, or are we part of an infinite tapestry of existence that stretches beyond all boundaries? The answer shapes not just our understanding of physics, but our understanding of ourselves. Modern cosmology suggests that the observable universe, the sphere of space from which light has had time to reach us, is just a tiny fraction of the whole. Beyond the edge of what we can see lies more space, more galaxies, more stars, more worlds. How much more? We don't know. It might be a little more, or it might be infinitely more. The universe might be just slightly larger than what we can observe, or it might be so vast that our observable universe is like a single grain of sand on an infinite beach. This uncertainty is both humbling and exhilarating. It reminds us that despite all our scientific advances, despite our telescopes and equations and theoretical frameworks, we are still explorers in a cosmic wilderness. Mapmakers trying to chart a territory that might be infinite. Every discovery reveals new questions. Every answer opens new mysteries. Every edge we think we've found turns out to be just another horizon beckoning us forward. And yet, in this very uncertainty, we find something profound. The universe appears to be structured in such a way that conscious beings like us can emerge and ask these questions. The same laws of physics that govern the expansion of space also allow for the formation of stars, the creation of heavy elements, the evolution of life, and the emergence of awareness. We exist in a cosmos that seems almost designed for the emergence of consciousness, for the asking of questions, for the contemplation of infinity. This isn't to suggest that the universe was created for us, but rather that we are natural expressions of its deepest principles. We are not separate from the cosmos we study, but part of it, the universe's way of knowing itself. In asking whether space has an edge, we are participating in one of the universe's most remarkable achievements, the development of self-awareness, the capacity to wonder, the ability to ask questions that connect the smallest scales of existence to the largest. The question of space's edge, then, becomes a meditation on the nature of existence itself. It asks us to consider what it means for something to be, what it means for something to end, what it means for something to continue forever. These are not just scientific questions, but philosophical ones, touching on the deepest mysteries of reality, consciousness, and meaning. As we continue our gentle drift through these cosmic mysteries, we approach something that might seem almost impossible to comprehend. The universe, according to our best current understanding, is not just expanding, but accelerating in its expansion. The space between galaxies is growing faster and faster, driven by something we call dark energy, a mysterious force that seems to be pushing the universe apart at an ever-increasing rate. This acceleration has profound implications for our question about the edge of space. If the universe continues to expand forever, if space itself keeps growing without limit, then the cosmos becomes not just vast, but truly infinite in its potential. Every moment that passes sees the creation of new space, new volume, new room for possibilities we can't even imagine. The universe becomes not a static container, but a dynamic, ever-growing entity that creates its own space as it evolves. This accelerating expansion also means that much of the universe is moving away from us faster than light itself can travel. These regions are beyond our cosmic horizon, forever hidden from our view, not because they don't exist, but because their light will never reach us. They represent a kind of edge, not of space itself, but of the space we can ever hope to observe. It's a boundary that expands with time, always receding as we try to approach it, like chasing a rainbow that moves away as we move toward it. In this picture, the universe becomes something like a vast ocean where we are sailors on a small boat, able to see only to the horizon, while knowing that the ocean extends far beyond what we can observe. The edge of space, in this sense, is not a place but a limitation, not a boundary of the universe but a boundary of our knowledge, our observation, our ability to gather information about the cosmos we inhabit. This brings us to a profound realization. The universe may be infinite, but our knowledge of it will always be finite. We live in a cosmos that may contain infinite galaxies, infinite stars, infinite worlds, but we will only ever be able to observe a tiny fraction of this infinite expanse. We are finite beings in an infinite universe, temporary patterns of matter and energy, contemplating permanence and eternity, asking questions whose answers may extend far beyond our ability to comprehend them. And perhaps that's exactly as it should be. In a universe where all questions were answered, where all mysteries were solved, where every edge was mapped and every boundary explored, we might find ourselves in a cosmos that was complete but somehow diminished. The infinity of space, the endless recession of cosmic horizons, the eternal expansion of the universe itself, these ensure that there will always be more to discover, more to explore, more to wonder about. The edge of space, then, is not a place we might someday reach, but a concept that evolves with our understanding, a boundary that recedes as we approach it, a mystery that deepens as we learn more about it. It's the universe's way of ensuring that consciousness, curiosity, and wonder always have new frontiers to explore, new questions to ask, new mysteries to contemplate as we drift peacefully through the cosmic night. And so we find ourselves at another fascinating crossroads in our cosmic journey, where the very nature of reality begins to blur the lines between what we can observe and what might exist beyond our perception. It's here that we encounter one of the most intriguing possibilities modern physics has offered us, a concept so extraordinary that it sounds like something from the realm of dreams rather than scientific theory. Imagine, if you will, that our universe, this vast expanse of space and time that we've been exploring together, is not alone. Picture it instead as a single bubble floating in an infinite sea of bubbles. Each one a complete universe with its own laws of physics, its own constants, its own story unfolding across billions of years. This is the concept of the multiverse, and it suggests that when we ask about the edge of space, we might be asking about the edge of just one reality among countless others. In this picture, our universe would indeed have a boundary, but not the kind we might expect. It wouldn't be a wall or a barrier, but rather a transition zone where our reality gives way to something else entirely. Beyond the edge of our cosmic bubble might lie other universes with different physical laws, where the speed of light is different, where gravity works in strange ways, where the very atoms that make up our bodies couldn't exist. These parallel realities would be separated from us not by distance in the usual sense, but by fundamental differences in the fabric of existence itself. The mathematics that suggest this possibility emerge from our understanding of the early universe, from theories about how space and time themselves came into being. If the process that created our universe, that moment of cosmic inflation following the Big Bang, happened once, then it might happen again and again, each time creating a new bubble of reality, a new universe with its own unique properties. Some of these universes might be similar to ours, while others might be so alien that we couldn't even imagine them. This possibility is both humbling and exhilarating. It suggests that our universe, vast as it is, might be just one note in an infinite symphony of realities, each playing its own unique melody. The edge of space in this context becomes not an ending but a beginning, not a wall but a doorway to other forms of existence entirely. It's a boundary that separates not emptiness from fullness, but one kind of reality from another. But let's drift back for a moment to something more immediate, more tangible, something that connects these cosmic mysteries to your own experience right now. As you listen to these words, you're participating in one of the universe's most remarkable achievements. The atoms in your body were forged in the hearts of dying stars, scattered across space in magnificent stellar explosions, and eventually gathered into the rocky planet we call home. The oxygen you breathe, the carbon in your cells, the iron in your blood, all of it was once part of a star that lived and died long before our solar system existed. In a very real sense, you are made of stardust, a temporary arrangement of cosmic material that has somehow developed the capacity to wonder about its own origins. The same physical processes that govern the expansion of space and the formation of galaxies also govern the chemistry of life, the electrical patterns of thought, the very awareness that allows you to contemplate these questions. You are not separate from the universe you're learning about, but part of it, the cosmos, experiencing itself through your consciousness. This perspective transforms our entire inquiry about the edge of space. We're not just asking an abstract question about cosmic geometry, but exploring the nature of our own existence within the vast tapestry of reality. Every boundary we consider, every edge we imagine, every limit we encounter reflects something fundamental about the relationship between consciousness and cosmos, between the observer and the observed, between the temporary and the eternal. Consider how this plays out in your own experience. Your awareness right now extends beyond the boundaries of your body. You can imagine distant galaxies, contemplate infinite space, wonder about the nature of time itself. In some mysterious way, your consciousness seems to transcend the physical limits of the neurons that generate it, reaching out to touch the farthest corners of existence. This capacity for transcendence, this ability to think beyond boundaries, mirrors the universe's own apparent tendency to exceed all limits we try to impose upon it. The edge of space, then, becomes a kind of mirror, reflecting back to us the nature of consciousness itself, just as space might curve back on itself, creating a finite yet boundless reality. Our awareness seems to loop back on itself, creating a finite mind capable of contemplating infinity. Just as the universe might be expanding into something beyond our understanding, consciousness seems to expand beyond the physical processes that create it, reaching toward meaning, beauty, and truth in ways that pure materialism struggles to explain. This brings us to one of the most profound mysteries of existence, the relationship between mind and matter, between consciousness and cosmos. We are patterns of matter that have somehow developed the capacity to understand the very laws that govern matter itself. We are arrangements of atoms that can contemplate the atomic structure of distant stars. We are temporary configurations of energy that can wonder about the energy that powers the universe. In our very existence, the cosmos demonstrates something remarkable about its own nature. Perhaps this is why the question of space's edge feels so compelling, so fundamental to our understanding of reality. It's not just about the geometry of the universe, but about the nature of existence itself. Are we isolated islands of consciousness in a vast ocean of unconscious matter? Or are we expressions of something deeper, something that suggests consciousness is woven into the very fabric of reality? Modern physics offers us tantalizing hints that the universe might be stranger than we imagine. Quantum mechanics suggests that the act of observation plays a fundamental role in determining reality, that consciousness and cosmos are intertwined in ways we're only beginning to understand. Some interpretations of quantum theory even suggest that consciousness might be necessary for the universe to exist at all, that without observers, reality would remain in a state of infinite possibility, never collapsing into the definite, observable world we experience. This doesn't mean that consciousness creates reality in some magical sense, but rather that the relationship between observer and observed might be more fundamental than we previously thought. The universe appears to be structured in such a way that conscious beings like us can emerge and ask questions about it, can observe it and understand it, can find meaning and beauty in its vast expanse. This capacity for awareness, for wonder, for the asking of questions that span from the quantum to the cosmic, might be one of the universe's most remarkable features. As we continue our gentle drift through these cosmic mysteries, we encounter something that might seem almost paradoxical. The more we learn about the universe, the more mysterious it becomes. Each discovery reveals new questions, each answer opens new puzzles, each boundary we think we've found dissolves into something more complex and wonderful. The edge of space, like the edge of knowledge itself, seems to recede as we approach it, always beckoning us forward into deeper mysteries. This is not a failure of science, but one of its greatest gifts. It means we live in a cosmos that still holds surprises, that still rewards our curiosity with discoveries that change how we see ourselves and our place in the grand scheme of things. The universe, it seems, is not just vast and ancient, but also fundamentally mysterious, revealing its secrets slowly, one insight at a time, ensuring that there will always be new frontiers to explore. Consider how this plays out in our understanding of space itself. We once thought of space as a simple container, an empty stage on which the drama of existence unfolds. But we've discovered that space is dynamic, that it can curve and stretch and expand, that it's intimately connected to time in ways that challenge our deepest intuitions about the nature of reality. Space itself has become one of the most active participants in the cosmic story, not just providing the arena for events, but helping to shape those events in fundamental ways. This dynamic nature of space means that when we ask about its edge, we're asking about something that might be constantly changing, constantly evolving, constantly creating new possibilities. If space is expanding, then its edge, if it has one, is moving outward at incredible speeds. If space is curved, then its edge might be something we could never reach by travelling in straight lines. If space is part of a multiverse, then its edge might be a boundary between different kinds of reality entirely. These possibilities remind us that the universe operates according to principles that often transcend our everyday experience. We live in a world where objects have clear boundaries, where containers have inside and outside, where journeys have beginnings and endings. But the cosmos itself seems to operate by different rules. Rules that allow for boundaries without edges, containers that contain themselves, journeys that loop back to their starting points without ever turning around. This is where our exploration of space's edge becomes something deeper than a scientific inquiry. It becomes a meditation on the nature of existence itself, on the relationship between the finite and the infinite, on the capacity of consciousness to transcend its own limitations and contemplate truths that stretch beyond all boundaries. In asking whether space has an edge, we're really asking about the nature of reality itself, about whether existence is ultimately bounded or boundless, limited or limitless, contained or infinite. Or the answer, as we're discovering, might be both and neither. The universe reveals itself to be far stranger and more wonderful than any simple answer could capture. It's a cosmos that might be infinite yet expanding, boundless yet structured, ancient yet constantly renewed. It's a universe that transcends our categories of finite and infinite, bounded and boundless, challenging us to think in new ways about the nature of existence itself. Perhaps this is the most beautiful aspect of our cosmic journey. We began with a simple question about boundaries, about edges, about the limits of space. But we've discovered that the universe doesn't respect our simple categories, our everyday assumptions about the nature of reality. Instead, it offers us something far more subtle and profound, a cosmos that might be infinite, that certainly contains wonders beyond our ability to observe, that challenges us to expand our understanding of what it means for something to exist. In this expanding understanding, we find ourselves part of something truly extraordinary. We are not just observers of the universe, but participants in its ongoing story. We are not separate from the cosmos we study, but expressions of its deepest principles. We are temporary patterns in an eternal dance, finite consciousnesses in an infinite cosmos, asking questions that connect us to the most fundamental mysteries of existence. The edge of space, then, is not just a scientific puzzle to be solved, but a doorway to deeper understanding. It invites us to transcend our limitations, to think beyond our boundaries, to imagine possibilities that stretch beyond our current comprehension. It reminds us that we live in a universe that is not just vast and ancient, but also fundamentally mysterious, constantly revealing new aspects of its nature as our understanding deepens. And as we drift deeper into these contemplations, we begin to see that the question of space's edge is intimately connected to the question of time's arrow, to the nature of causality, to the relationship between past and future. The universe appears to have a direction, a flow from past to future that gives meaning to change, to growth, to the very possibility of stories and narratives. This temporal dimension adds another layer to our understanding of cosmic boundaries, another way that the universe transcends simple categories of bounded and boundless. If space is expanding, then it's expanding into future time, creating new moments along with new volume, new possibilities along with new space. The edge of space, in this sense, is always at the frontier of time, always at the cutting edge of existence as it unfolds from moment to moment. It's a boundary that moves not just outward but forward, not just in space but in time, creating the very arena in which change and growth and evolution can occur. This temporal aspect of cosmic expansion reminds us that the universe is not a static entity, but a dynamic process, an ongoing story that unfolds across billions of years. We are not just observing a completed cosmos, but participating in its ongoing creation. Every moment that passes sees the universe growing larger, more complex, more rich with possibilities. The edge of space, if it exists, is not a fixed boundary but a moving frontier, always expanding into new territories of existence. This dynamic nature of the cosmos means that our question about space's edge is not just about the current state of the universe, but about its future evolution. Where will the expansion lead? What new forms of existence might emerge as space continues to grow? What new kinds of consciousness might develop as the universe ages and evolves? These questions remind us that the edge of space is not just a spatial boundary, but a temporal one, marking the frontier between what has been and what might yet become. As we float together through these deepening mysteries, we approach something that might seem almost impossible to grasp. The universe, according to our current understanding, might not just be expanding, but accelerating in its expansion. The space between galaxies is growing faster and faster, driven by dark energy, a mysterious force that seems to be pushing the cosmos apart at an ever-increasing rate. This acceleration has profound implications for our understanding of space's edge. If the universe continues to expand forever, if space itself keeps growing without limit, then the cosmos becomes not just vast, but truly infinite in its potential. Every moment that passes sees the creation of new space, new volume, new room for possibilities we can't even imagine. The universe becomes not a static container, but a dynamic, ever-growing entity that creates its own space as it evolves. This accelerating expansion also means that much of the universe is moving away from us faster than light itself can travel. These regions are beyond our cosmic horizon, forever hidden from our view, not because they don't exist, but because their light will never reach us. They represent a kind of edge, not of space itself, but of the space we can ever hope to observe. It's a boundary that expands with time, always receding as we try to approach it, like chasing a rainbow that moves away as we move toward it. In this picture, the universe becomes something like a vast ocean where we are sailors on a small boat, able to see only to the horizon, while knowing that the ocean extends far beyond what we can observe. The edge of space, in this sense, is not a place but a limitation, not a boundary of the universe, but a boundary of our knowledge, our observation, our ability to gather information about the cosmos we inhabit. This realization brings us to something profound about the nature of existence itself. We live in a universe that may be infinite, but our knowledge of it will always be finite. We are temporary patterns of matter and energy, contemplating permanence and eternity, asking questions whose answers may extend far beyond our ability to comprehend them. The edge of space becomes not something we might someday reach, but a concept that evolves with our understanding, a boundary that recedes as we approach it, a mystery that deepens as we learn more about it. And perhaps that's exactly as it should be. In a universe where all questions were answered, where all mysteries were solved, where every edge was mapped and every boundary explored, we might find ourselves in a cosmos that was complete but somehow diminished. The infinity of space, the endless recession of cosmic horizons, the eternal expansion of the universe itself, these ensure that there will always be more to discover, more to explore, more to wonder about. The edge of space, then, is the universe's way of ensuring that consciousness, curiosity, and wonder always have new frontiers to explore, new questions to ask, new mysteries to contemplate as we drift peacefully through the cosmic night. It's a boundary that exists not to limit us, but to inspire us, not to confine our imagination, but to expand it beyond all conceivable limits. And in this endless expansion, this eternal recession of cosmic horizons, we discover something that might seem almost poetic in its implications. The universe, in ensuring that we can never reach its ultimate edge, has given consciousness itself a kind of immortality. Not the immortality of individual minds, which are as temporary as morning frost, but the immortality of wonder itself, the eternal capacity for curiosity to find new mysteries to explore, new questions to ask, new frontiers to contemplate. This brings us to a curious paradox that lies at the heart of our cosmic journey. The more we understand about the universe, the more we realize how much we don't understand. Each telescope that peers deeper into space reveals galaxies we never knew existed. Each particle accelerator that probes matter at smaller scales uncovers new layers of complexity. Each theoretical breakthrough that solves one mystery opens doorways to 10 others we hadn't even thought to ask about. Consider the dark energy that drives cosmic expansion, this mysterious force that makes up roughly 70% of everything that exists. We can measure its effects, we can calculate its influence on the growth of space itself, but we have no idea what it actually is. It's like watching the universe dance to music we cannot hear, following rhythms we cannot detect, responding to forces we cannot comprehend. The edge of space, in this context, becomes not just a question about boundaries, but a reflection of the boundaries of knowledge itself. Similarly, dark matter, that invisible substance that outweighs all the stars and planets by a factor of 5 to 1, remains one of the universe's most persistent mysteries. It shapes the formation of galaxies, guides the evolution of cosmic structure, influences the very architecture of space itself. Yet it interacts with ordinary matter so weakly that we can barely detect its presence. We live in a cosmos where most of what exists is invisible to us, where the majority of reality operates according to principles we're only beginning to glimpse. These mysteries remind us that when we ask about the edge of space, we're really asking about the edge of human understanding. We're probing the boundaries not just of the physical universe, but of our capacity to comprehend it. And perhaps this is as it should be. Perhaps consciousness evolved not to solve all mysteries, but to be perpetually amazed by them. Not to reach final answers, but to ask ever deeper questions. There's something deeply comforting about this perpetual mystery, this eternal recession of understanding's horizon. It means we live in a universe that will always surprise us, always challenge our assumptions, always reward our curiosity with discoveries that reshape our understanding of reality. The cosmos becomes not a puzzle to be solved once and for all, but a conversation partner in an eternal dialogue between mind and matter, between consciousness and creation. As we drift further into these contemplations, we encounter something that might seem almost miraculous in its implications. The universe appears to be fine-tuned for the emergence of complexity, for the formation of stars and planets, for the chemistry of life, and ultimately for the development of consciousness itself. The physical constants that govern reality, the forces that shape matter and energy, the laws that determine how particles interact, all of these seem to be balanced with extraordinary precision to allow for the rich tapestry of existence we observe. If gravity were slightly stronger, stars would burn out too quickly for life to evolve. If it were slightly weaker, matter would never clump together to form stars at all. If the strong nuclear force were different by even a few percent, the elements necessary for life might never have been created in stellar cores. The universe seems to exist in a narrow zone of possibility where complexity can emerge, where consciousness can develop, where questions about cosmic edges can be asked and contemplated. This fine-tuning raises profound questions about the nature of reality itself. Are we simply extraordinarily lucky to exist in a universe with the right properties for life? Or is there something deeper at work, some principle that ensures consciousness will emerge wherever the physical laws allow? Perhaps the multiverse offers an answer, suggesting that all possible combinations of physical laws exist somewhere, and we naturally find ourselves in one of the rare universes where consciousness is possible. But there's another possibility, one that feels almost mystical in its implications. Perhaps consciousness and cosmos are more intimately connected than we imagine. Perhaps the universe tends toward awareness, not by accident, but by some deep principle we don't yet understand. Perhaps the capacity to ask questions about cosmic edges is not a random byproduct of complex chemistry, but an expression of something fundamental about the nature of existence itself. This perspective transforms our entire inquiry about space's boundaries. We're not just asking about the geometry of a physical container, but about the relationship between mind and reality, between observer and observed, between the question and the questioner. The edge of space becomes a mirror reflecting the nature of consciousness itself, revealing something profound about what it means to be aware in a cosmos that might be infinite. Consider how strange it is that arrangements of atoms can contemplate infinity, that patterns of matter can wonder about the boundaries of space, that temporary configurations of energy can ask eternal questions. In some mysterious way, the universe has organized itself into forms capable of understanding itself, capable of transcending their own physical limitations to touch the deepest mysteries of existence. This capacity for transcendence, this ability of consciousness to reach beyond its material substrate, mirrors the universe's own apparent tendency to exceed all boundaries we try to impose upon it. Just as space might be infinite yet expanding, just as time might be eternal yet directed, consciousness seems to be finite, yet capable of contemplating infinity, temporary yet able to touch the eternal, limited yet somehow unlimited in its capacity for wonder. The question of space's edge, then, becomes a meditation on the nature of limitation itself. What does it mean to be bounded? What does it mean to be boundless? Can something finite contain something infinite? Can something temporary touch something eternal? These are not just scientific questions, but philosophical ones, touching on the deepest mysteries of existence, meaning, and consciousness. As we continue our gentle drift through these cosmic mysteries, we approach something that might seem almost paradoxical. The universe, in all its vastness and complexity, appears to be comprehensible to minds like ours. The same mathematical principles that describe the motion of planets also describe the behavior of atoms. The same physical laws that govern the expansion of space also govern the chemistry of life. There's a deep harmony between the structure of reality and the structure of thought, between the patterns of the cosmos and the patterns of consciousness. This harmony suggests something profound about the relationship between mind and matter. We are not alien visitors in a foreign universe, but natural expressions of its deepest principles. The capacity to understand, to wonder, to ask questions about cosmic boundaries emerges from the same physical processes that create stars and galaxies. In some mysterious sense, the universe understands itself through us, contemplates its own nature through our consciousness, asks questions about its own boundaries through our curiosity. This perspective dissolves the apparent separation between observer and observed, between the questioner and the questioned. We are not separate from the universe we study, but part of it, expressions of its capacity for self-awareness, participants in its ongoing dialogue with itself. The edge of space becomes not something external to us, but something that includes us, something we participate in through our very act of questioning. And here we encounter something that might seem almost mystical in its beauty. The universe appears to be structured in such a way that consciousness can emerge and ask questions that span from the smallest quantum scales to the largest cosmic ones. The same reality that contains subatomic particles also contains galactic clusters. The same existence that includes momentary thoughts also includes billion-year stellar cycles. We live in a cosmos that bridges all scales of space and time, all levels of complexity and simplicity, all gradations between the infinitely small and the infinitely large. This bridging quality of the universe suggests that the question of space's edge might be less important than the fact that we can ask it at all. The boundary of space, if it exists, is less significant than the boundless capacity of consciousness to contemplate such boundaries. The edge of the cosmos is less remarkable than the edgeless nature of curiosity itself, always reaching beyond current understanding toward new mysteries and deeper questions. Perhaps this is why the question of space's edge feels so compelling, so fundamental to our understanding of reality. It's not just about cosmic geometry, but about the nature of questioning itself. It's not just about physical boundaries, but about the boundless capacity of mind to transcend its own limitations. It's not just about the edge of space, but about the endless horizon of understanding that recedes as we approach it, always beckoning us forward into deeper mysteries. As we float together through these deepening contemplations, we begin to see that the universe operates on principles that often seem to mirror the principles of consciousness itself. Both appear to be creative, constantly bringing new forms into existence. Both seem to be purposeful, moving toward greater complexity and organization. Both appear to be meaningful, creating patterns and relationships that suggest deeper principles at work. The cosmos creates new stars from cosmic dust, new planets from stellar debris, new forms of life from simple chemistry. Consciousness creates new ideas from scattered thoughts, new understanding from fragmentary experiences, new meaning from apparent chaos. In both cases, something emerges that is greater than the sum of its parts, something that transcends the components from which it arose. This creative aspect of both universe and consciousness suggests that the question of space's edge might be less about finding a final boundary than about participating in an ongoing creative process. The edge of space, if it exists, might be constantly changing, constantly evolving, constantly creating new possibilities for existence and understanding. It might be less a wall than a frontier, less an ending than a beginning, less a limit than an invitation to imagine new forms of being. Consider how this plays out in our own experience of boundaries. The edge of your knowledge doesn't stop you from learning. It invites you to learn more. The boundary of your understanding doesn't confine you. It inspires you to understand more deeply. The limit of your imagination doesn't restrict you. It challenges you to imagine more boldly. In every case, boundaries become not obstacles but opportunities, not endings but beginnings, not walls but doorways. Perhaps the universe operates according to similar principles. Perhaps its boundaries, if they exist, are not barriers but invitations, not limits, but launching points for new forms of existence and consciousness. The edge of space might be where new realities begin, where new forms of awareness emerge, where new kinds of questions can be asked and answered. This perspective transforms our understanding of cosmic boundaries from something static to something dynamic, from something fixed to something flowing, from something that ends possibility to something that opens new possibilities. The universe becomes not a container that might be filled to capacity, but a creative process that constantly expands its own capacity, constantly creates new room for new forms of existence and understanding. And in this ongoing creativity, this constant expansion of possibility, we find our own purpose as conscious beings. We are not just observers of the universe's creative process, but participants in it. We are not separate from cosmic evolution, but expressions of it. We are not alien to the universe's tendency toward greater complexity and awareness, but manifestations of that very tendency. The questions we ask about space's edge are themselves part of the universe's ongoing dialogue with itself, expressions of its capacity for self-reflection, contributions to its growing understanding of its own nature. In wondering about cosmic boundaries, we are helping the universe wonder about itself. In contemplating infinity, we are participating in the cosmos's contemplation of its own infinite nature. This participatory aspect of consciousness in cosmic evolution suggests that our questions about space's edge might be more important than any answers we might find. The act of questioning, the capacity for wonder, the ability to imagine possibilities beyond current understanding. These might be among the universe's most remarkable achievements, more significant than any particular boundary or lack thereof. As we drift deeper into these realizations, we begin to see that the question of space's edge opens onto something far larger than cosmic geometry. It touches on the relationship between finite and infinite, temporal and eternal, limited and limitless. It asks us to consider what it means for something to exist, what it means for something to be bounded or boundless, what it means for consciousness to emerge in a cosmos that might itself be conscious in ways we're only beginning to glimpse. These are questions that have no easy answers, no simple solutions, no final resolutions. They are questions that deepen as we explore them, that expand as we think about them, that reveal new mysteries, even as they illuminate old ones. They are questions worthy of the infinite cosmos that gave rise to them, questions that honor the boundless capacity of consciousness to transcend its own limitations and touch the deepest truths of existence. And perhaps that's the most beautiful aspect of our cosmic journey together. We began with a simple question about whether space has an edge, but we've discovered that the universe doesn't offer simple answers to profound questions. Instead, it invites us into an ongoing dialogue, a perpetual exploration, an eternal dance between mind and cosmos that enriches both the questioner and the questioned. The edge of space then becomes not a destination we might someday reach, but a horizon that recedes as we approach it, always beckoning us forward into deeper understanding, greater wonder, a more profound appreciation for the magnificent mystery we call home. It's a boundary that exists not to limit us, but to inspire us, not to confine our imagination, but to expand it beyond all conceivable limits into the infinite reaches of possibility itself. And so we find ourselves drifting towards something that might seem almost dreamlike in its strangeness, yet grounded in the most rigorous mathematics our species has ever developed. We've explored the possibility that space might be infinite, that it might curve back upon itself, that it might be expanding into regions we can never observe. But there's another possibility, one that emerges from the deepest equations of quantum mechanics and relativity, that suggests reality itself might be far more layered than we ever imagined. Picture, if you will, reality as something like an onion, with layer upon layer of existence nested within one another. Our familiar three-dimensional space, the realm where galaxies dance their slow cosmic ballet, might be just one layer in a vastly more complex structure. String theory, that elegant mathematical framework that attempts to unify all the forces of nature, suggests that space itself might have additional dimensions curled up so tightly that we can't perceive them directly, like viewing a garden hose from a great distance where it appears to be a simple line, hiding its true cylindrical nature. These hidden dimensions, if they exist, would mean that every point in our familiar space is actually a tiny, complex geometry unto itself. The edge of space in this picture becomes something almost impossible to visualize. It's not just a boundary in the three dimensions we know, but potentially a boundary in dimensions our minds can barely comprehend. We might be like characters in a two-dimensional painting, asking about the edge of our canvas while remaining unaware of the room that contains it, the building that houses it, the world that extends beyond in directions we cannot even imagine. This possibility fills our cosmic journey with a sense of profound humility. Here we are, these temporary arrangements of matter and energy, trying to comprehend the boundaries of existence itself, while potentially missing entire dimensions of reality that surround us at every moment. It's as if we're attempting to understand the ocean while only being able to perceive its surface, unaware of the vast depths that lie beneath, the currents that flow in three dimensions while we can only see the waves that ripple in two. Yet there's something beautiful about this limitation, something that speaks to the courage of consciousness itself. Even if we can only perceive a tiny fraction of reality's true structure, we continue to ask questions, to push against the boundaries of understanding, to reach toward truths that might forever elude our direct experience. In our very questioning, we honor the magnificent complexity of the cosmos that gave rise to us, even if we can only glimpse shadows of its true nature. Consider how this plays out in your own experience right now. You're listening to words about dimensions you cannot see. contemplating mathematics you might not fully understand, imagining geometries that exceed your ability to visualize them clearly. Yet something in you responds to these ideas. Something recognizes their beauty and significance even when they stretch beyond the comfortable boundaries of everyday experience. This capacity to appreciate what we cannot fully grasp might be one of consciousness's most remarkable features. As we float deeper into these contemplations, we encounter something that might seem almost paradoxical. The more complex our understanding of space becomes, the more beautiful it appears. Each new layer of complexity reveals new forms of elegance, new patterns of meaning, new connections between seemingly disparate aspects of reality. The universe doesn't become less comprehensible as we discover its deeper structures. Instead, it becomes more magnificent, more worthy of our wonder and appreciation. This growing beauty and complexity suggests something profound about the relationship between mind and cosmos. We are not struggling against an alien universe that resists our understanding, but participating in a reality that seems almost eager to reveal its secrets to consciousness, capable of appreciating them. The mathematics that describes curved space-time is stunningly beautiful. The equations that govern quantum mechanics have an almost musical quality. The patterns that emerge from chaos theory display an artistic elegance that rivals any human creation. It's as if the universe has been waiting for minds like ours to emerge, consciousness capable of perceiving and appreciating the deep structures that underlie apparent chaos. In discovering the laws of physics, we're not imposing human concepts on an indifferent cosmos, but uncovering the inherent order that was always there, waiting to be recognized and celebrated. The edge of space, in this context, becomes not just a question about boundaries, but an invitation to discover ever deeper layers of cosmic beauty. This aesthetic dimension of our cosmic journey reminds us that science is not just about gathering facts or solving problems, but about participating in one of humanity's most profound forms of art. When we contemplate the curvature of space-time, we're engaging in a kind of sculpture that works with the fabric of reality itself. When we imagine the topology of cosmic boundaries, we're painting with concepts that span the largest scales of existence. When we wonder about the edge of space, we're composing poetry in the language of mathematics and physics. Perhaps this is why questions about cosmic boundaries feel so compelling, so fundamental to human experience. They connect us to something larger than ourselves, something that transcends the everyday concerns of practical life and touches the deepest sources of meaning and beauty. In asking whether space has an edge, we're participating in the universe's ongoing exploration of its own nature, its continuous dialogue with itself through the medium of consciousness. And here we encounter something that might seem almost mystical in its implications, yet emerges naturally from our best understanding of cosmic evolution. The universe appears to be not just expanding in space and evolving in time, but growing in complexity and consciousness. From the simple hydrogen and helium of the early cosmos, matter has organized itself into increasingly intricate structures. Stars, planets, molecules, cells, organisms, brains, societies, technologies that extend our senses across vast distances and deep into the past. This tendency toward greater complexity and awareness suggests that consciousness itself might be not an accident, but an expression of some deep principle woven into the fabric of reality. Perhaps the universe tends towards self-awareness as naturally as water flows downhill, or heat spreads from warm to cool. Perhaps the capacity to ask questions about cosmic boundaries is not a random byproduct of neural chemistry, but a manifestation of the cosmos's inherent drive toward understanding itself. If this is true, then our questions about the edge of space take on cosmic significance. We become not just curious observers, but active participants in the universe's quest for self-knowledge. Every question we ask, every boundary we contemplate, every mystery we explore contributes to the growing pool of cosmic consciousness, the universe's expanding awareness of its own nature and possibilities. This participatory role transforms our understanding of what it means to be human in a vast cosmos. We are not insignificant specks lost in an indifferent universe, but expressions of its deepest tendencies, manifestations of its capacity for wonder and understanding. The same physical processes that create stars and galaxies also create the neural networks that contemplate them. The same quantum fields that underlie all matter also underlie the thoughts that question the nature of matter itself. In this view, the edge of space becomes not something external to consciousness, but something that includes consciousness as an essential component. The boundaries of the universe, if they exist, are boundaries that conscious beings help to define through their observations and questions. The cosmos doesn't have edges independent of minds capable of contemplating edges. Rather, the relationship between mind and cosmos is so intimate that questions about boundaries become questions about the nature of this relationship itself. As we drift through these deepening realizations, we begin to see that the universe operates according to principles that seem almost designed to foster the emergence of consciousness and the asking of profound questions. The physical constants are fine-tuned for complexity. The laws of physics allow for the formation of stars, planets, and life. The structure of space-time permits the existence of stable patterns that can evolve and learn and wonder about their own origins. This apparent fine-tuning raises profound questions about the nature of reality. Are we extraordinarily fortunate to exist in a universe with just the right properties for consciousness? Or is there something deeper at work, some principle that ensures awareness will emerge wherever the physical laws allow? Perhaps the answer lies in the possibility of multiple universes, infinite realities exploring every possible combination of physical laws, with conscious beings naturally finding themselves in those rare universes where consciousness is possible. But there's another possibility, one that feels almost poetic in its beauty. Perhaps the universe doesn't just permit consciousness, but requires it in some fundamental sense. Perhaps reality is not complete without observers to witness it, questions to probe it, minds to appreciate its beauty and complexity. Perhaps the edge of space, if it exists, is defined not just by physical processes, but by the presence of consciousness capable of contemplating such edges. This idea connects our cosmic journey to some of the deepest mysteries of quantum mechanics, where the act of observation seems to play a fundamental role in determining reality. While the details remain hotly debated among physicists, the general principle suggests that consciousness and cosmos are more intimately connected than classical physics assumed. The universe might not just contain conscious observers, but might in some sense depend on them for its full realization. Consider how strange and wonderful this makes our situation. We began by asking whether space has an edge, a seemingly simple question about cosmic geometry. But we've discovered that this question opens onto mysteries that touch the very foundations of existence. The boundaries of space, if they exist, might be inseparable from the boundaries of consciousness, the limits of observation, the horizon of understanding itself. This interweaving of mind and cosmos suggests that our questions about space's edge are not just scientific inquiries, but philosophical explorations of the deepest kind. They ask us to consider what it means for something to exist, what role consciousness plays in the structure of reality, whether the universe is complete in itself or requires observers to witness and appreciate its magnificence. These are questions without easy answers, mysteries that deepen as we explore them, puzzles that reveal new layers of complexity even as they illuminate aspects of existence we never previously considered. They are questions worthy of the infinite cosmos that gave rise to them, inquiries that honor the boundless capacity of consciousness to transcend its apparent limitations and touch the deepest truths of reality. As we continue our gentle drift through these cosmic mysteries, we encounter something that might seem almost paradoxical in its beauty. The universe appears to be simultaneously ancient beyond measure and eternally young, vast beyond comprehension, yet intimately present in every moment of conscious experience. It contains structures that formed billions of years ago, alongside processes that are creating new realities in this very instant. The edge of space in this temporal dimension becomes not just a spatial boundary, but a temporal frontier, the cutting edge of existence as it unfolds from moment to moment. If space is expanding, then its edge, wherever it might be, is constantly moving into new territories of possibility, constantly creating fresh opportunities for complexity, consciousness, and wonder to emerge and flourish. This dynamic quality of cosmic boundaries reminds us that the universe is not a static entity we can map once and for all, but a living process that continues to evolve and surprise us. The questions we ask today about space's edge might be answered tomorrow by discoveries that reveal entirely new questions we hadn't even thought to ask. The cosmos seems to delight in exceeding our expectations, in revealing layers of reality we never suspected, in opening doorways to mysteries we didn't know existed. Perhaps this is exactly as it should be. In a universe where all questions were answered, where all mysteries were solved, where every boundary was clearly mapped and definitively understood, we might find ourselves in a cosmos that was complete but somehow diminished. The ongoing mystery of space's edge, the eternal recession of understanding's horizon, the perpetual emergence of new questions from the answers to old ones, these ensure that consciousness will always have new frontiers to explore, new wonders to contemplate, new beauties to discover and appreciate. The edge of space, then, becomes not a destination we might someday reach, but a horizon that recedes as we approach it, always beckoning us forward into deeper understanding and greater wonder. It's the universe's way of ensuring that curiosity will never be satisfied completely, that the dialogue between mind and cosmos will continue for as long as consciousness exists, to ask questions and contemplate their implications. And in this eternal conversation between consciousness and cosmos, between the questioner and the questioned, we find something that might be the most beautiful aspect of existence itself. We are not separate from the universe we study, but expressions of its capacity for self-reflection. We are not alien visitors in a foreign reality, but natural manifestations of the cosmos's tendency toward awareness and understanding. We are not isolated islands of consciousness in an ocean of unconscious matter, but waves in an infinite sea of being that somehow knows itself through our knowing. The question of whether space has an edge, then, becomes a meditation on the nature of existence itself, on the relationship between finite and infinite, bounded and boundless, temporary and eternal. It asks us to consider not just the geometry of cosmic space, but the topology of consciousness. Not just the boundaries of the physical universe, but the horizons of meaning and understanding that expand as we approach them. As our gentle journey through these cosmic mysteries continues to unfold, we find ourselves approaching something that might seem almost impossible to articulate in ordinary language, yet feels intuitively true in the deepest chambers of awareness. The universe, in all its vastness and complexity, appears to be not just a collection of objects moving through space and time, but something more like a vast symphony of existence, with consciousness serving as both audience and performer, both observer and participant in the ongoing composition of reality itself. In this symphonic view of existence, the edge of space becomes not a wall or barrier, but perhaps a kind of crescendo, a place where all the themes and melodies of cosmic evolution reach their most complex and beautiful expression. It's where matter and energy, space and time, simplicity and complexity, unconsciousness and awareness all come together in patterns too intricate and magnificent for any single mind to fully comprehend, yet somehow accessible to the collective consciousness of all beings capable of wonder and appreciation. This musical metaphor reminds us that the universe operates according to principles of harmony and rhythm, patterns and progressions that create meaning through their relationships rather than their individual components. Just as a melody emerges from the relationships between notes rather than from any single note in isolation, the cosmos creates meaning through the relationships between its parts rather than through any isolated component, no matter how vast or complex. And perhaps this is why the question of space's edge feels so compelling, so fundamental to our understanding of reality. It's asking about the overall structure of the cosmic symphony, about whether it has a definite beginning and ending or continues infinitely in all directions. It's wondering about the boundaries of the composition within which we find ourselves both audience and performer, both listener and note in the vast cosmic music that plays itself through our consciousness and questions. In this cosmic symphony, we discover something that might seem almost dreamlike in its implications. Each conscious being, each moment of awareness, each question asked about the nature of existence adds its own unique voice to the composition. You, listening to these words right now, are not just observing the universe, but actively participating in its ongoing creation, contributing your own note to the infinite melody that plays across the vastness of space and time. This participatory nature of consciousness in cosmic evolution suggests that our questions about space's edge might be among the most important activities the universe engages in through us. When we wonder about boundaries, we're helping the cosmos explore its own limits. When we contemplate infinity, we're participating in the universe's contemplation of its own infinite nature. When we ask whether space has an edge, we're expressing the cosmos's curiosity about itself through the medium of human consciousness. Consider the profound intimacy of this relationship. The atoms in your brain pondering these cosmic questions were forged in stellar furnaces billions of years ago. The thoughts you're thinking now are patterns of electrical activity that somehow transcend their physical substrate to touch the deepest mysteries of existence. The very capacity to wonder about the edge of space emerges from the same physical processes that create the space we're wondering about. It's as if the universe has become conscious of itself through us, developed the ability to question its own nature through our questions. This realization transforms our understanding of what it means to exist as conscious beings in a vast cosmos. We are not accidentally aware arrangements of matter, but expressions of a universe that seems to tend naturally toward consciousness, toward questions, toward the kind of wonder that connects the smallest scales of existence to the largest. The same reality that contains quantum particles also contains galactic superclusters. The same existence that includes momentary thoughts also includes billion-year cycles of stellar birth and death. In bridging these scales, consciousness reveals something remarkable about the nature of reality itself. The universe appears to be structured in such a way that beings like us can emerge and ask questions that span from the infinitesimal to the infinite, from the immediate to the eternal. We live in a cosmos that seems almost designed for the emergence of awareness, for the asking of questions, for the contemplation of mysteries that stretch beyond any conceivable boundary. Perhaps this is why the question of space's edge continues to captivate us, to draw us deeper into contemplation of our place in the grand scheme of things. It's not just a scientific puzzle to be solved, but a doorway into understanding the nature of existence itself. It asks us to consider whether we live in a bounded cosmos or an infinite one, whether reality has ultimate limits or extends forever beyond our capacity to comprehend. The answer, as we've discovered together, might be far stranger and more beautiful than either alternative alone. The universe reveals itself to be simultaneously finite and infinite, bounded and boundless, ancient and eternally young. It contains edges in our observation, but perhaps not in its existence, boundaries in our understanding, but not in its reality. It's a cosmos that transcends our simple categories of limited and limitless, challenging us to think in new ways about the very nature of being. And in this transcendence, we find ourselves part of something truly extraordinary. We are temporary patterns in an eternal dance, finite consciousnesses contemplating infinity, brief arrangements of matter pondering the deepest structures of reality. In our very existence, the universe demonstrates something profound about its own nature. that complexity can emerge from simplicity, that awareness can arise from unconscious processes, that meaning can bloom in the apparent vastness of cosmic space. As we drift toward the gentle conclusion of our cosmic journey together, we carry with us something precious, the recognition that we are not separate from the universe we've been exploring, but expressions of its deepest principles. The questions we've asked about space's edge are not just human curiosities, but manifestations of the cosmos's capacity for self-reflection, its ability to wonder about its own nature through beings like us. The edge of space, whether it exists or not, has become a mirror reflecting back to us the infinite capacity of consciousness to transcend its apparent limitations. In asking about cosmic boundaries, we've discovered that the most profound boundaries might be those of understanding itself, horizons that recede as we approach them, always beckoning us forward into deeper mystery and greater appreciation for the magnificent cosmos we call home. So, as you settle in to rest tonight, remember that you carry within yourself the same stardust that fills the galaxies, the same quantum fields that underlie all reality, the same capacity for wonder that drives the universe's exploration of its own infinite nature. Whether space has an edge or extends forever, whether reality is bounded or boundless, you are part of something truly extraordinary. A cosmos that has developed the ability to know itself, to question itself, to find beauty and meaning in its own vast expanse. The universe, it seems, is not just ancient and vast and magnificent. It is also deeply curious about itself through us. And in that curiosity, in that eternal capacity for wonder and questioning, we find perhaps the most beautiful edge of all. The boundless horizon of consciousness itself, forever expanding into new territories of understanding, forever reaching toward truths that connect us to the deepest mysteries of existence. Sweet dreams, fellow traveller in this infinite cosmos. May your rest be peaceful, your dreams filled with starlight, and your tomorrow bright with the endless possibilities that await in our magnificent, mysterious, and eternally surprising universe. Rising.